Hi folks, welcome back to Gardening in Nakusp with Ray. So we're outside the house here and we got a nice little spring show happening here. For the wintertime I had the evergreens, the blue spruce and the chamaecyparis and the green cedars. So we got rid of all that and now we have a nice pansy display, and I put a little tiny grass I had in the back there just for a little bit of filler. Because I like to have the bed look quite nice and full. And these pansies are great, they're hardy. They can take a little bit of frost. Sometimes they look kind of shriveled in the morning, but they bounce back as soon as the heat hits them. And then I had just a little sedum too that was, it fell off a pot into the sidewalk, grew in the sidewalk, and I just harvested that and put it in here too.
Are all pansies edible?
I think so. I believe so, yes. Especially the little violas too. They're great little edible things. And then these are just some tulip tubs that I planted in the fall. Planted them early, so they rooted. You gotta have them root before they get too cold, otherwise they'll just rot. And then I planted them early, watered them, let them root, and then I put them together in a bunch, and then put bags of leaves around them and on top of them, and they wintered over that way. Then early in the spring I took the leaves off and moved them out into the sunshine, and now they're coming. No tulips yet, I don't think, but anyway, just having the nice greens here has a nice effect. Thanks, folks. So this little garden we're turning over into perennial plants. It's kind of rooty here with all the trees, and so it doesn't grow very good annuals, but the perennials are tougher. They get the roots established and they're better. So some of the perennial plants that I really like are Sorrel, which is this one right here. And that's a really great spring green. So it's a little bit, this is a shady zone here, and so the plants are a little bit later than they would in a warmer spot, but they're so tough that I don't have to do anything to them. They just come up on their own. We're gonna make today's salad. We're gonna use spinach and lettuce from the cold frame, and carrots from the leftover from the garden, and chives and sorrel. And then this is a lovage plant, which German folks use a lot for soups. I think it flavors like Maggi, the flavoring, but a little bit in the salad is quite good. It gives it a nice little taste to it.
It's like a celery, right?
That's right, yeah. I have artichokes growing in the greenhouse. Now this is from last year and did really well. It produced, but I didn't put leaves. Usually in hills there I used to pile leaves on it, and I forgot all about it. So I'm leaving it in to see if it comes up from the base. We'll see, but if not, I have probably about 4 or 5 of them in the greenhouse. And then over here is my Stinging Nettle patch, which I really like. And they're just coming up again. It's a shady spot here. So I'm going to divide the sorrel up this fall and put more plants out there, so I have a bigger selection in the spring. And you can see the stinging nettle is just making itself at home. It's escaped the fence and gone over to the rock zone there. But it's great. It's a good blood purifier, and this makes nice spring green. It's good for making soup.
And really good at stinging you if you touch it.
Stinging you, yes. And rumor has it it's good for preventing arthritis, but I don't know whether that's a fact or not.
Want to give us a demo
of the stinging? Actually, I already in there weeding it. There had buttercup in there, so I'm already stinging.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's the stuff. Nice and stingy.
Yeah, so it's nice to have perennial plants because they just look after themselves. They come up every year, and we don't have to do much for them. Thank you. So now we're in the cool grow room, and if your lights are less than ideal, like here, if I had the lights or the plants underneath the light like that, they would be fine, but I'm trying to jam as much plants as I can in here. So these ones on this side here don't get as much light, so they tend to grow towards the light. So what I did this morning is I just turned them around, and they're leaning this way, so I'm hoping that they'll go again towards the light. So if your lights are less than ideal, you might have to play around with the plants a little bit. You can see like this
Going straight towards the light until
yeah.
it was rotated.
Yeah, so whereas these plants over here are right directly underneath the light, and so you get the nice straight growth there.
Oh, yeah.
Now the other day usually I water on Wednesday nights, water Sunday and then Wednesday nights, but I was busy Wednesday so I didn't water. And so by Thursday they were limp and falling over. So I took these little stakes and just kind of pried them up, staked them up a little bit. But as soon as I gave them some water, well this one's kind of flopped over still, but as soon as I gave them some water they perked up again and they're straightening up. But yeah, they're a little fussy, they don't like to go too dry.
Those are the zinnias.
Those are the, no, actually, those are just zinnia tags.
Oh, oh dear.
Those are my brassicas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't be fooled, folks.
Right, don't be fooled by the tags.
I'm like, interesting. They don't like water, and yet they do like water.
Yes. These are RUDBECKIA.
Oh, wow. These have really gotten pretty large.
Yeah. Pretty soon I'm going to be moving stuff out into the other greenhouse, into the cool greenhouse. Because these are perennials. They're a little bit tougher than the annuals, so they can go out into the greenhouse. But I'm waiting until the nights are not quite so cold, which hopefully be this weekend.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been hitting like -4.
Yeah, I think we had the full moon maybe tonight.
Yesterday or the day before.
Right.
I can't tell.
Good. Yep, so things will be moved out.
What about the full moon is relevant?
Well, we talked about that. I've always regarded the full moon as potential really frost time.
That's right.
So I watch when I plant my stuff, my annuals out where the full moon is. And one listener did ask us why that is, and I don't know the reason, but I've always just been aware that you have to watch around the full moon. That could be potential frost time.
So now we're past the full moon.
Yes, so it might not be so
Fingers
cold.
crossed.
I mean, I'm not going to put my annuals out yet because there's another moon to come yet, but perennials hopefully can go into the greenhouse.
Okay.
So now we're in the heated greenhouse, and I just wanted to show a sample of the zinnias that we had pinched. So this one we had topped, and now you can see it's coming from the center here, from all the axils where the leaves join the stem, and it's bushing up here too as well. So we stopped that rapid growth, and it's filling out now, so it's going to be a nice bushy plant by the time it gets out into the garden.
Does that mean more blooms?
No, might not mean more. Well, it depends whether these two make 2 stems. If it makes more stems, then yes, it would be more blooms. But if it just keeps going with one consistent stem, then it wouldn't make more blooms. But it'll be a sturdier plant and fuller plant. Actually, I guess it could, because these would probably eventually grow and produce, these would be little side shoots, and that would be more blooms too. So yeah, I guess it could be more blooms.
Stay tuned, folks.
Yes. So everything's doing well in here. I have the heater on at night because there's peppers and zinnias in here that like the heat. And the peppers are all doing well. These ones I transplanted, these grew really fast off the bat, and I put them in bigger pots. So now they're fine. I'm hoping by next weekend to put them out into the cold frame. I hope it warms up enough at night so that I can do that. But I've been glad this year that I delayed, because it was so cold at nights, they wouldn't have been happy out there. They're better off in here. And if you run into the problem where your peppers are in too small of a pot, and you have the space, and put them in a bigger pot and keep them in the greenhouse till it's warmer for the cold frame. Over here, these are still in the smaller pots, but I thought, oh well, they're looking good, they're not looking stressed, and hopefully I can get them out next weekend. And if I couldn't, then I would probably put them into a larger pot. But they even have little flower buds on them.
Yeah, they're starting up already.
Yeah. So they're going to be nice transplants. They're nice, big, and healthy plants. So again, that's even better. They're just stronger plants. So when they go out into the cold frame, if it's a little bit cold, they have a better chance of surviving because they're thicker stemmed and they're just doing very well. So I'm doing a little experiment out there. I had this flat of parsley that I hadn't pricked out. I have my forage pots, but I had this excess stuff. So I just put some out into a pot out in the garden, and I put my little greenhouses, my little juice jar greenhouses over top.
Your cloches?
My cloches, yes. My plastic cloches. So I'm just doing an experiment. They will just move out that way, Joe.
Lead the way.
Okay. So one time, I used these before for little plants, and usually I would take them off in the morning, but one time I forgot, and I got home at night, and I thought they would be cooked, but they were fine with the top off. Oops, this got the top on. So here's the little parsleys. I just planted them in little clumps. And then I'm just gonna leave these on day and night and just see how they do.
I love that. And then will you leave the lids off, do you think?
I think I'll leave them off. I thought it'd probably be good to put them on at night. So I'll see how much time I want to invest in it. The ideal situation would probably be to put them on maybe in the afternoon, late afternoon, so they can build up some heat in there. But I don't know. Well, we'll see. I might invest the time in that and just see.
And then the soil might keep it a little warm too.
Yeah, yeah. And also parsley is a tough plant, tougher plant. It's tougher than basil, say.
So how long have you been gardening for, Ray?
Well, I grew up gardening, which was really nice. My parents had a huge garden. And even when I was young, I enjoyed it. And sometimes weeding was a little bit monotonous, but I was very lucky that way, that I learned from my folks. And unfortunately, a lot of people aren't passing that on nowadays. So that's why our little YouTube show comes in, so we can sort of pass on that information. Because with the price of food, I'm quite concerned for people. Like, from my garden, from this little yard here, I produce so much food, and even now, we're having supper together, and a lot of the food is still coming from the garden, from the potatoes and onions and corn and cauliflower from the freezer. And, you know, we're still eating well from the garden. And I think it's very important that we try to produce as much food as we can.
So do you think the cost of what you spend on gardening supplies every year, do you think it still offsets, like you're still saving money?
Oh, for sure.
From
yes.
the grocery bills?
I'm sure I am. Plus, I get the quality, too. I'm using Guy Green fertilizer. It's got a lot of trace minerals. So the trace minerals goes into the soil, goes into the plants, and goes into me. So I think it's beneficial for us, too, to eat good quality food that's healthy.
Fresh, healthy, local. You know what's going into it.
That's right.
You know what's not going into it,
That's right.
especially.
Yeah.
And you're growing enough for your friends, too.
That's right, yeah.
Not just yourself, but for your friends.
Yeah.
And I love that, you know, I really think it is important to decentralize where we get our food from.
That's right, yes.
Because if we can rely on ourselves and create a bit of independence, then yeah, that's freedom.
Yeah, and if food gets more expensive, it doesn't really affect me too much.
Right.
But I hear people talking about it, the cost of food, and how they have to choose between rent and food, or car and food, and I know it takes work, but somehow I think we have to transition into growing our own food.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Transition back into growing our own food.
That's right, yeah.
We've become so dependent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lovely. Thanks for that, Ray.
You're welcome. So now we're out in the coal frames, and I was just, as I was fertilizing my gardens here, I was just thinking this bed alone, there's 4 heads this way and 10 heads, so that's 40 heads of lettuce. And they're just starting to head up now. You can see them starting to form. And these are a semi-head. They're not going to be the big iceberg, which I don't really like. I like lettuce that's got nice greenery to it. So these are semi-heads, but they still make a nice head, and it's a nice soft lettuce. And so 40 heads of lettuce, I'm not sure what they are in the store, but
I think it could be around $4.
$4, yeah.
$4 a head. And so you've got 4 times 4. This is $160 worth of lettuce. And how much was the packet of seeds?
Maybe $3 at the most, something
Right.
like that. And I didn't even use all the lettuce seeds. Lettuce is quite plentiful in the packages. So,
That's right.
so yeah, I'm going to start my next batch of lettuce. Now that this is forming up nicely, I'm going to start my next batch for, you know, just to keep the crop going. I think I'm going to do some romaine lettuce this next time.
Switching it up, because what is this, butter crunch?
Butter crunch, yeah, butter, yeah.
Look at me. And spinach, I mean, you'll buy spinach for, I don't know, something like $6 a container, and they're nowhere near as vibrant and rich and green as these. Hey, a little wasp. Hey, buddy.
This is a little bit older bed here with the bigger plants. And we've been harvesting out of this for several weeks now, and I just harvested a big bowl full for our Sunday supper. And so we have lettuce and spinach and sorrel and lovage and dandelions and chives. The chives are happening now.
All from your garden.
All from the garden,
This
yeah.
is all us that we're going to eat today.
Yeah.
Maybe some mango cheesecake.
Yes, definitely some mango cheesecake.
Wow.
Okay. Now I know we can't eat these, but again, they give us just the beauty on them. So these are, I just went to Georama and I found these beautiful plants. I'm going to be doing a landscape in Silverton, and I wanted to have some heathers in the gardens. And so these are Erica darliensis. This is silver schmelz, which is a white, 30 centimeters tall and 75 centimeters wide. And it blooms in the spring now, so this is great. They're making a great show right now before anything else is really happening. And then this is Ghost Hills. It's funny, Joe and I were talking about how Ghost is pink, but anyway. So these are the spring bloomers, the Erica darliensis. And then I got some beautiful fall bloomers. And these are the clunas. We'll move over here.
Oh, wow, these are nice.
Yeah, aren't they nice? So this says, this Cluna vulgaris firefly says, stunning deep mauve flowers against orange-yellow foliage, blooms August to October, so in the fall, late summer, fall. Foliage turns bright red in the fall. So not only do you have attractive flowers, but you have the attractive leaf as well, too.
Beautiful.
And it's nice in the fall when several things are kind of finishing up and changing to have some beautiful flowers that time of year. And this variety says lilac pink flowers backed by light to mid green foliage, brilliant red new growth. So in the spring it's got beautiful red growth, persists well into summer, blooms August and September again, in late summer, fall.
Super eye-catching.
Isn't it? Yeah, and it's just nice, hardy plants to have in the garden. So I was working with my perennial herbs this morning, and so these herbs are like the sage, and I just gave it a little clip, tripping off some of the leaves that had winter killed, and I'm just going to see, I think they'll pop out of these little, you can see little buds here. And you don't want to cut down too much into the old wood, you just want to give a light trim on this nice fresh growth where it'll grow. So I didn't need to repot it all. I just put in some Gaia Green fertilizer and some manure and gave it some fish fertilizer just to perk it up. So now we'll just watch this new growth, and if it doesn't happen to come, so there's some new growth there already. So that's the sage, and a lot of times I use sage for fall cooking, but I do have one recipe where it's a nice cornbread and it's got sage in it, so it's useful other times. And then this is a lemon thyme, and it went through very well. So again, I just topped it up with some fertilizer, and we'll start watering it and get on some nice new growth. And this is a regular thyme. Now I did divide this. It was kind of hollow in the center there and wasn't producing well, but there's some nice stuff on the edge. So I dug it up and divided it and put it back in the pot here. And I think this will come along quite nicely. It's got a little bit of growth there.
Looks like it's starting to come in right there.
Yeah. And these are my 3 pots of oregano. Now they looked really good. They had nice new growth coming up here as well too, and there's lots of growth at the edges. So again, I just fertilized them and just brought them out here into this. I wintered them in the garden in a shady zone, so they're a little bit behind. And this, I'm really glad this came back. This is French tarragon, and it's hard to find. It's kind of struggling, but it's still alive, so I'm really pleased about that. I like to use the herbs in the summertime to make nice fresh iced tea, herbal iced tea. And the French tarragon is wonderful, and it's got this licorice taste, and it makes a nice drink.
Yum.
And these are mints. Now, I did have to divide this up, and I left one out in the garden there to show you how I dug it up, divided it, and stuck it back in the pots. And these two are unknowns. I'm not sure what they are.
Time will tell.
So we'll have to wait and see. So we'll go out and look at that demonstration one to see how I divided it up.
Sounds good.
So I tipped the mint out of the pot, and the excess soil from the bottom I dumped back into the pot again and added a bit more and added some manure, so it's nice fresh soil. And you can see here there's lots of growth on the outsides, but not much on the inside. So you want to take it and divide it, because if you put it in like this, again, you're not going to get, it's better to take in this nice fresh stuff and put it in the middle of the pot, and then it can spread out into the pot. So we're just going to be a little, I'm going to take the shovel and we're just going to hack at it a little bit.
Show us how it's done.
Yeah, so let's see how this looks. Maybe a better piece here. Yeah,
Oh,
there it
there's
is.
all the good stuff.
Yeah, it looks better.
Wow.
And with mint, you don't have to save every little clump because it really spreads.
It'll find a way.
Yeah, and I just kind of round out a little bit. Make a hollow in the center. There we go.
Just mint forever. Keep
Yeah,
dividing it.
You can smell it, eh?
Oh yeah. Spearmint?
Yes. Yeah, there's all kinds of mints now. I used to have orange mint and chocolate mint and peppermint.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to keep it down a little bit and just have regular mint.
Because they spread so easily, hey?
It does spread so easy. That's one reason why I keep it in the pots too as well.
Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, and a plant that I'm going to have to get, I don't have right now, is lemon,
Verbena?
not lemon verbena, lemon...
Sage.
No.
Lemon.
Hmm.
Is it like verbena?
Well, it has really nice mint, lemony taste, and it's really good for herbal teas. I just can't think of
Lemon balm.
Lemon balm, that's it.
Oh
yes.
yeah, lemon balm.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful plant too, because it's great for drinks. So there, it's all ready to go, and we'll just pack it over there and...
And I see it's just poking out a little bit, hey? The
Yes,
mint?
yeah,
And that's okay. It will find a way.
that's right. Yeah, it'll come up. So now it's got fresh soil, nice new plant. You won't have that hollow center in there. It'll grow out really fast. In probably a month or 2 months' time, it'll be all full here.
More mint than you can shake a stick at.
That's right. Yes, and you can have lots of mint for your herbal teas
Yum.
and your mint juleps. Thanks, folks. So 2 weeks ago when we were looking at the minor bulbs, the Scylla and the Pushkinia and the Chionodoxa, we didn't look at the Anemone blanda because this area had snow piled on it over the winter. And so they were just coming up then. But in the 2 weeks time since then, they've come and flowered. So we've got a little bit of Scylla mixed in with them. But these are the Anemone blandas, called the windflower because they actually spread. You can see little ones just popping up all over the place. And they're just wonderful. They're a nice purple color, or you can get a white or pink or a mixed blend. And again, these are the fall bulbs that you plant. And the little minor bulbs are great. Minor being not like tulips or daffodils, the bigger bulbs, fall bulbs. These are just smaller, but they make up for it the way they spread and in their strength and resiliency. And here you can see our Erica, or the heathers. You can see what a beautiful clump it makes and what a show it makes in the springtime.
Wow.
And the bees just love it.
So with one of those pots, how many of these pots would be?
I think I probably put about 3 or 4 pots to make this clump, and then they just all grew together.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I probably planted them. I bought the house in 2013, and I didn't do this garden until about 2015. So it was probably 2015 that I planted them, and so they've filled out in that time.
Established.
Established,
nicely.
yeah.
Nice.
Thanks, folks, for joining us in this session. So if you liked what you saw, you can subscribe. You can... Sorry, Joe.
You can like.
You can like.
We can subscribe.
Subscribe.
We can share.
Share.
We can
And ring the bell for a notification. Thanks, folks.
Looks very Eastery. Might just fix the collar a little bit.
Thank you.
And then you want to go like this?
Oh, got more dirt again?
Just a little bit. Squeaky clean.
Great.
All right.
Erica Darliensis. It's funny they say Ghost Hills, dark pink. You'd think that would be the Ghost Hills.
Right. These look like ghosts.
Yeah.
That's a really good seal, though.
Yeah, it is a good seal.
Oh, man. Like, it could even snow and they'd be fine.
Yeah, it has.